The latest Blake James podcast does not do much to instill faith in the future of Boston College athletics.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. I've been covering Boston College for over a decade. If you're looking for BC news, analysis, and details on your Eagles, you are in the right place. Locked On BC is a free daily Boston College podcast available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. Head to FanDuel.com to get yourself started. On today, we have a miserable show for you, but it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about hockey having a bad weekend, what happened, why this hurts them, and what they need to do to get to where they need to be. Already have a coaching change. Joanna McNamee is gone. Why did this happen, and where does this go for BC from here? And let's kick it off with something I don't usually talk about, which is the athletic director at Boston College. Now, on Saturday, right before BC got drubbed by Miami, there was Anthony Smith of Eagle Insider, my writer on hockey, and you've seen him here on our show a couple times, clipped a tweet. Tweeted a clip, got it backwards, on Blake James's podcast with John Mita Perrell. And yes, you want to call it whatever you want to call it. It's propaganda. It's whatever it is. I don't really listen to a lot of them because it's just sanitized version of whatever you already know. But the clip that he brought really showcased something that worried me. And it was James talking about the end of the season for basketball. And now BC is on the cusp of being left out of the ACC tournament for the second straight year. With the win on Saturday, I believe it was Pitt and Notre Dame both have an edge on BC, and BC has to win out to make the ACC tournament. Now, Blake, on one hand, Blake James, on one hand, talked extensively about the last three games for BC. And the framing he had, the way that he framed it, and you can listen to the clip yourself, he basically was playing chalk game with BC, talking about how they're probably going to lose this game and this game, but if they beat this team, if they beat Notre Dame to end the season, they're going to be okay and they'll make it into the tournament. That was not a good thing to hear. Then talking about the excitement of making the ACC tournament and how that's a great thing that they do that. I cringed so hard, my skeleton almost flew out of my body. Making the ACC tournament every year should be an expectation. Because BC is so bad, we're now looking at it as, well, that's a good thing that they can get that far. We are so far removed from them actually making an NCAA tournament. We're now looking at the ACC tournament and saying, oh, that's great. That could be something good. My hope is you hear the buzz that the ACC tournament. So this goes to the point, like, is this going to be what saves Earl Grant's job? Like, if they get to the ACC tournament, is his job safe? If that's the case, if it takes a miracle down the stretch to not be eliminated for the second straight year, that is pretty weak. I'm going to say that in the nicest terms possible for what the school is looking for a program. You got your AD out there saying that this is okay. Like, I get it in one sense, right? Blake has a job. Blake James has a job to sell this program and to drum up whatever excitement he can from the fans, the donors, players, whatever. That's his job. He's a politician, basically, right? That's what he does. But to put this out there, to make this like something that everyone sees, it just makes BC look really pathetic. It makes them look like a program that is miles behind everyone else. And, for many cases they are. Because this should, immediately, the context of this that should drive the conversation moving forward is This isn't acceptable. What's going on with men's basketball is not right, and we're going to fix it. Okay. You don't need to say you're going to fire Earl Grant yet, because I know that there's, things that you need to do, hoops to jump if that's the case you're going to make. But you got to say that this is not okay and make that very clear. No BC fan out there is going to get excited by or think that there's any smidgen of success because of the ACC tournament. And that's not the only thing he said. It just keeps going on and on and on. The other comment that he made that I wanted to bash my head through my laptop was the comment that he said that BC is a tough out for every team that they play against. And that, they're a team that no one wants to face. Oh, give me a break. Yeah, they've been tough at times, but come on. Like, no team is afraid of Boston College. No team is dreading to go to Conte Forum to play Boston College basketball. Oh, no, that's not happening. Okay? They've played hard. I'll give the players that. That is very clear. And that's been the case. That was the case with the 2-10 football team. Those guys played hard. They're not quitting, but they're not very good. And that's the biggest problem here. So after watching BC give up, what was it, I think it was like a 32-6 run or 36-4 run, whatever it was like a 30-point run that Miami went on. I tuned out. I can't watch this team anymore. Like, what am I going to get into? Like, if I force myself to watch more of this basketball game, what am I going to glean out of this? And I think so many fans are like that. And yeah, there's a few of you out there, and I get it. You guys have showed up my comments that really love BC basketball, and I love you for it. I do. I think it's awesome. But for the vast majority of BC fans, look at the stadium. Look at the student section. Look at the social media interactions. I can say what I want, but like the results speak for themselves. It's a dead product. It is what it is. And you can deny that. And yes, there's fans that would love to see it get back, but it's not back. Right. And I cannot, it's just, you guys will get bored with it, whatever. I cannot do 35 or how many, 30 games they play. I can't do 30 Fire Earl Grant shows because it's just repetitive. But the fact that you have a team that has 10 wins, they're going to go 10-20 or 11-19 if it's that much better. And we're at the end of the day listening to the AD saying, oh, it's a great thing and there's some excitement because they could go into this ACC tournament. It just was so it was so laughable, as Anthony Smith said so well. Like, it's laughable. BC is so far removed from the NCAA tournament. This is where things stand right now. This is where people think of BC. And it's got to change. It's got to change. In a moment, one change is coming, and I'll explain who is leaving already. And I'll explain what that means for BC in just a moment. College basketball is nonstop, big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night, from early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board, and now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with the college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hopes parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits you need. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up that payoff potential. And go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. Especially if it's not Boston College. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get yourself started. FanDuel, play your game. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the fight higher, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the job people who actually fit what you're looking for with skills, experience, and location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, Spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less time, less stress, and more results. And listeners to this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get the job, your premium status it deserves at indeed.com/podcast. Just go to indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Locked on BC, AJ Black here. And I want to tell you again, I want to invite you. I don't want to tell you. I want to invite you to join our Everydayer Club. I will be doing a first cup with AJ on Tuesday, so don't miss out on that. But on Monday, every tier, you can join our Discord group chat. It's an app that basically works as a group chat that talks BC sports. I will be in there to do a Q&A with all of you that are part of it in the Discord. You just need to sign up, get in there. You can ask me anything you want. I will answer it the best I can. That's on Discord. I hope you sign up because it's a really cool thing. It's like, I love group chatting. I have so many group chats from work and things like that. Think about this with BC people, like just talking BC stuff. Come over and join our Everydayer Club. You can do that at the basic tier or the premium tier and get those locked on, those last cups with first cups with AJ as well. Now, let's get into more. Dive in more with BC sports, as we're not talking about football because there's so much other stuff going on that I have to put football to the side. I'm breaking that cardinal rule, but when your AD says one thing and there's a coaching change, I got to get into it. And BC already has made a coaching change after the end of one basketball season, as Joanna Burnaby-McNamee is out as women's basketball coach. Now, I don't talk a ton about women's basketball on the show, and I specifically didn't talk a lot about them this year because they were atrocious. They were 5-26, I think they were, just real bad. They had one ACC win, and I had said going into the season, like, they lost, I think, 11 players to the transfer portal last year. They did not do a good job of bringing in ACC caliber players, in my opinion, and it showed on the court. And, you know, just like with a lot of BC sports, I thought Joanna McNamee was a pretty good coach, but the results speak for themselves, right? Like, I can't argue with what you see. And some of that is on her, and some of that is on the school. You have to say the school has not done a good job with any of the sports and supporting them financially with this new NIL world. And I think the team that probably got hit hardest with this is women's basketball. You know, around the world, women's basketball is a big deal when it's good. But BC has not been good for a while. And you look at them and BC men's basketball has nobody there, but women's basketball, it's like playing in front of a completely empty stadium. It's just nobody's there other than family members. And so after a year like this, where BC has probably their worst season, and I don't look at the record books, but I've followed along for a while, women's basketball worst season in like recent history. 5 wins total, 1 ACC win. It was ugly. And so they move on here. And there's some interesting wording in the press release, which was released, I think, like 3 hours after their final game. Like, I thought Steve Adazio got fired fast when he got fired like 24 hours after their final game. McNamee didn't even make it to bed before she was fired. And that's just, it was a quick move, and that's what they did. Now, the piece that I thought was most interesting was that it's a firing, but the wording on the press release makes it seem like they just let her go, because she was playing on the last year of her coaching on the last year of her contract. So this was it for her. And they and the wording says they just decided not to extend her contract. I mean, that's firing, right? But like, it's an interesting way to say it. And it's interesting because it does impact other sports now, because of that wording, you are not paying a buyout, or, you don't owe her anything. So there's no dead money here. And that's an important piece to consider, is that if you need to move on from another coach, this offseason, and it looks like that would be the case, but we don't know yet. You're not you're not going to be paying out two coaches. We know BC is cheap. We know they don't like doing that. That's important. Okay. If BC wants to fire Earl Grant now, you'd only have his extra money, his dead money that you'd be paying for. So that's an important piece, because I know I saw Nick Petralia, who is a great writer on BC. He's a student there, saying like, this could impact the Earl Grant thing. I don't see that happening. I don't in any way that would prevent them from making a move if that's what they want to do. Now McNamee is gone. What do you do? You got to find another coach. Obviously, you're going to, the press release says they're going to do a nationwide search. There's coaches out there that are good and, probably mid-majors that you can bump up, or, assistant head coaches at Power 4 schools. But at the end of the day, the big piece to me that always struck me with women's basketball is just like everything else with BC. It just hits them harder. They got to support this program. No matter who you bring in, that person's going to need the financial backing to put a good product on the court. If you're going to make them fall woefully behind in NIL and not have the money to go out there and be competitive in the portal and recruiting, what's the difference between what you just fired with Joanna McNamee? You need to change that. And so maybe just getting a fresh start on that is going to help BC get to that next point. But every firing that we hear about now, whether it's McNamee or it could be Earl Grant, like, BC as an institution needs to change how they view everything in terms of financing. It's a different world now. And both basketball programs have struggled because of that. I mean, you could build a tournament team with the guys that BC has lost in the portal, with Devin McLaughlin and Jaden Zachary, and even the guys that are you thought were bad last year look great now. That's a whole other story, but we're not going to get into that right now. But all of these basketball programs, they need more support financially, not from you guys. That's a different story. And now, this is the first move. So for men's basketball, in terms of what's going on, you have 2 more games left. You play on the road at Virginia Tech, which, if you listen to Blake James, is a really, really hard place to play. It's really hard. He said that very clearly. And then you come home and you play Notre Dame, who is going to be playing without one of their best players. So that's it. If they don't win out, their season ends. Will they move on? If I was a betting man, I have said yes. I don't think this program is going anywhere right now. I don't see, as I said earlier, Earl Grant has said, we're going in the right direction. We've rebuilt this program, and I don't see any of that. So I think that's the case there. Now, in our final segment, hockey, BC's flagship, some of you may think their flagship program, had one of their worst weekends of the year. Let's just put a cap on this turd sandwich by talking about a hockey team in just a moment. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets change the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by the people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by the play. You decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app to get started. Wrapping things up after a terrible weekend, this is Locked On Boston College, and I'm your host, AJ Black. And if you want a second listen, check out Locked On ACC with Kenton Gibbs and Alex Donald. It's a great podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Check that out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, hockey had a big weekend in front of them. They were playing BU. It was the Battle of Comm Ave. BC had beaten BU in the bean pot. Obviously, we're Friday high. They've been, but since then, BC has been really up and down. They had that miserable loss against Vermont. They played pretty well against UConn. Now they really needed to win this weekend to kind of solidify their their rankings heading into the final couple weekends of the Hockey East schedule, the Hockey East tournament, and then for hoping to get into that next tier. Well, everything went to hell in a handbasket this weekend as BC lost both games. The home and home both went to BU. On Friday night, they were at a Guinness Arena. Oscar Jelvik was back, which is great. But they fall behind 2-1 and then give up an empty netter to lose 3-1. Tough loss. And they came out slow, battled back, and then just could not keep up. But it was Saturday's night's loss that was just the real Debbie Downer. BC loses 5-1 at home to BU and looked completely listless and just kind of lost out there. It looked like almost like a situation of motivation for BC out there. Just like it just didn't seem like they were that invested in this game. And that's a big problem. With these losses, BC's potential chances of making the NCAA tournament dropped drastically. They need to start winning fast. Their hopes of winning the Hockey East regular season crowns are gone. And the overall picture of this team is more concerning because they have just looked so inconsistent of late. Luca Claudier, their goalie, has not played well. They're struggling to score goals. They got to get much more going for them to actually go the places that you're hoping they could go. So these were just, two really tough losses for BC. And again, it goes into this giant, data collection of just inconsistency that this team has been playing with, which is sad because they, coming out of the bean pot, you had all of this hope. You were feeling good about this program. And then it was like the rug was pulled from underneath you as BC just has struggled and struggled and struggled. So there's that. I mean, what else is out there from this weekend? There was nothing but football, so that's good, I guess. But baseball lost 2 out of 3 to Florida Gulf Coast. Not good. and women's lacrosse beat Clemson, who is ranked higher than them. Clemson is one of those schools that just started women's lacrosse and is starting to really get their legs underneath them. So to beat them was good. So that is the only positivity from this weekend. The rest has been pretty bad. So I hope you guys have a better weekend. Hey, the weather's getting better. And let's be real. I'm a football podcast first and foremost, but I do like talking hockey and basketball. And if there's coaching changes in basketball, we will be talking a lot about that. We will also be talking about football with practice and recruiting, which is going to hit next levels type stuff soon, with practice starting on March 10th. So we're right around the corner. Again, I told you on a previous episode, there isn't going to be a spring game this year, which makes a lot of sense. You have a new, you have all these new players. You don't want to give that away. In addition, there isn't a spring portal window, but it sounds like some teams are just not going to care and keep doing it anyways, which I don't get any of this. I don't know how this continues to just be legal, but that's where things are with that. So thank you all for listening. I'll see you all again. My name's AJ Black. You can follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on everything. Follow me on all the socials, and I'll see you again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.